Hello, and welcome to the virtual Sundance ASCAP Music Café, where we're excited to bring you special editions of our ASCAP Screen Time conversations. I'm Amanda Schaffner from our ASCAP Screen team, and today I'm thrilled to welcome acclaimed director Nina Menkes and Emmy-nominated composer Sharon Farber to discuss one of the most powerful films of the festival. Making its worldwide debut, Brainwashed Sex Camera Power builds on Nina's brilliant and influential cinematic talk, Sex and Power, the Visual Language of Cinema, and explores gendered politics of shot design. Welcome, Nina and Sharon.
Hi, happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. So Nina, before we get into the kind of collaboration between you and Sharon, could you set the stage for us on this project? How long have you been working on it? When did you know that this really needed to be a feature-length documentary?
Yeah, this is a film that, is quite different from my other films. Those people who know my work, my own work is kind of very interior, very personal. The stories sort of come to me from inside and appear, and they're works of the pure imagination, you might say, fictional films primarily. And this film really came to me from the outside, and that was a very different process. I had been giving a talk to my students for many years, where I showed film clips and sort of said, look at the shot design, look at how women are shot differently than men. Here's 10 examples or something like that. And what happened is, when the Harvey Weinstein story broke at the New York Times in October 2017, I wrote an article for Filmmaker magazine saying how shot design and the visual language of cinema, and actually it's the language of cinema in general, including sound, how that is tied to the twin epidemics of sexual abuse, sexual assault, and employment discrimination against women. I wrote this essay for Filmmaker magazine, and much to my astonishment, it went viral and it became their most popular article of the year, #1 article of the year, in terms of hits and reads. And then I was invited to a number of places around the world to give this talk, my presentation, and everywhere I went, people came up to me and said, oh my God, this should be a feature film. So the idea for the film came from other people. It didn't come from me. And that's very different than my other work. So there seemed to be a real need for this film, a real demand for this film. And the film speaks to a need that's out there. So this film is very much for the audience, for the world.
Right, and you had found something that seems like it had kind of immediately resonated, which I think is really part of the power. And then how did you meet Sharon, or how did the two of you come across each other? Sharon, had you previously heard Nina's talk, or were you familiar with it? And Nina, did you already know about Sharon's background as an advocate?
No, actually, what happened is that a friend of mine, I just finished scoring another film, and the director introduced me to the producer, who was the producer on Brainwashed, and she connected us, and Summer Yang, and that's how it came about. And then I started reading more about Nina. I was like, oh my God, she's so amazing. This is so powerful. Everything she does is so unique, and everything has a meaning. It's not just like entertainment, everything has a meaning. Everything, every shot, everything she does. Sound, because Nina hasn't been working with composers before. So that was basically her first time to work with a composer. Everything else she did by her own, with the sounds that she picked and made it to her own thing. So it was just like, wow, this is going to be so challenging and rewarding at the same time, and that's how we met. And I'm very grateful to Summer for connecting us.
Well, that's really interesting. Going to back to this idea that this was the first time, Nina, that you had worked with a composer. What was that first creative conversation like for you?
Well, since I really was, to be honest, clueless about working with the composer, I sort of thought that, what we did is our temp track was the Vertigo score. Okay. And I loved the Vertigo score as the temp track. And so I thought that all I have to do is say to Sharon, basically copy Vertigo, but you can't really copy it. That's copyright violation, but do a riff on Vertigo, see you later when you finish the score. Like that. I mean, I didn't realize that it was kind of like, you do it second by second. And, I listened to every single note. And because I'm used to doing my own sound design, I was like, well, Sharon, this note here, it's a little too high. Please bring it down. And this 10 seconds over here, I don't like this, but this 10 seconds over here, I like. I mean, I was very kind of, as Sharon said, I was very detail oriented.
Yes, extremely. And it was, I mean, it's Bernard Herrmann, right? I mean, it's quite challenging, let's do something like Bernard Herrmann and still be Sharon and still have my own voice that would work with Nina's vision. It was, very challenging, but after I did it first, I took the general vibe of Vertigo, and I made it my own. The first scene is about 4 minutes long. And I know that Nina was very, very scared at the beginning because she didn't have a chance to work with a composer before, and we never worked together. And yeah, I sent her some of my music and she said, it's great, but it's scary for filmmakers because this is the only thing that they don't really know a lot about most of the times. So, but after I did the first 4 minutes, Nina said, yes, I love it. And that's set the tone for the whole thing. And from that point on, it was a wonderful collaboration. I must say, every comment that Nina gave me made the score better. And usually it happens with filmmakers. And I love when they say, can you do this? Can you do this? Because almost always it makes my music better. And that's why I tell, students, when I mentor students, you cannot have ego. You cannot have ego because you are here to service the film. You're not here to, oh, yes, of course, I want to be proud of every note that I wrote. And I am proud of every note that I wrote for this film. But if a director tells you, this doesn't really work for me, then you say, okay, let's explore. Let's see why it doesn't work. Is it too happy, too sad? Is it too high? What isn't working? And you just make it work. And it doesn't matter if it takes, 3 versions or more, you just do the best that you can in order to bring the director's vision to life. And I think Nina was very instrumental in helping me achieve that.
That's amazing.
Well, the sound is the score is it's really fantastic, and it's really, I think it's unique. Mm-hmm. I like I said, I don't have experience, but I've heard people say it's not like most documentary scores. It's much more kind of mystical and evocative, and what the score does, it's sort of, I don't know, it's really beautiful. I mean, especially now that we just did the mix, and I can hear it, I can hear the flow of it, and it's just like every moment I'm like, yes. So I think that we succeeded, and it was very, very difficult. I'll say it was very, very difficult because what I was going for was something very atypical for a documentary. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just like, do the natural documentary thing,
And I must say, how many times you have a full orchestra on a documentary?
Oh yeah, we have.
I mean, this is like, it's almost not heard of, to have a full orchestra on a documentary. And I'm so happy that Nina went for it, because from the beginning I said, Nina, you want a Bernard Herrmann style,
right?
we must have an orchestra. It's, I have great samples and everything, and Nina knows because, but it's amazing because when, after, she approved everything and we started mixing, and she came to one of the music mixes and she sat there and she said, oh my God, now I get it, right? She's like, oh my God, now I hear the difference, how it sounds with an orchestra, and everything is now so smooth and everything is just works, and the power of live musicians is just unbelievable. And I wish we should have sent you a few of the tracks before this meeting, but when we're done, I will, so you will have kind of an understanding of what we've done together.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I wanted to ask into too, because, prior to us talking, you had mentioned that this sound is striking an interesting balance between this mystical, magical side of filmmaking, and then obviously you're referencing a very classic score in classical cinema too. So I'm wondering, was it the orchestra? Was it the two of you working so closely together? Like, what really helped you achieve that balance?
Nina, do you want to go first?
Well, I think that's Sharon's answer because, she's the one who figured it out. But we had we had this Vertigo score, or temp, kind of as the guideline. But obviously, it had to be different, and it had to be more, and it had to be like almost like a riff on that, and a comment on that, and an expansion on that, or I don't know the right words, but the interesting thing is, because the film Brainwashed contains 175, actually it's over 175 film clips, and a lot of films from the canon of cinema and the Hollywood canon of cinema. Right. So we're talking about, in many ways, many of the films we're looking at are these classic films, and some of them are great films. I'm not saying that, I personally love Vertigo. I think it's a genius movie, and I love the music. That doesn't mean I can't point out the gender politics in the shot, So the idea of referencing classical cinema when we have 175 film clips made a lot of sense. But of course, it goes further, because it's also, what's built into the music is a reaction to classical cinema. Mm-hmm. And that's what the film is about.
And it was, some of the music is very dramatic, extremely dramatic. And Nina, so a few things. One is that it was very challenging, because with so many film clips, how do I make it smooth so people don't feel weird? Oh, here's the score, here's the clip, here's the score, here's the clip. And we have 65 minutes of music, so there's a lot of original music. So I made sure that I'm in the key of the clips.
That's right. You had to match that.
To match that, but when you have a few of them, so let's say I just came from one in, let's say, F minor, and now I'm going to one that is in F sharp. So how do you make it smooth, and how do you make the musical transition not be something that is noticeable, but it's just goes there in a natural way? And it was very interesting to do that, and challenging. But when it works, it just works so beautifully. So you don't even feel, in some of the clips, my music plays under the other clip in the same key. So you don't even understand that there's a score that goes underneath the music of the clip. And it's just so smooth. And of course, the orchestra made it even smoother. And also, I had to be very, very careful, because yes, we had Vertigo, which is, Bernard Herrmann, a genius, right? Yeah. But how do I make it my own? How do I make it something that sounds a little bit like old Hollywood, but also has a contemporary feeling in, when you need it? Right. And how do you use the instrument in such a way that from time to time you do hear, oh wow, that sounds like an old Hollywood thing, and now it's like, oh, it's so dramatic, it sounds like something that could go from, like, everybody that heard the end credit said it's like, a scene from Joker or, or Batman, something. But that was also another thing because Nina has a very unique sound in her mind. So she doesn't want like typical Hollywood, here we go, Star Wars. She's like, don't give me Star Wars, don't give me Star Wars. So I had to be very careful not to give her Star Wars. And she's like, no, this is Star Wars. I was like, no, it's just a little bit hard. No, this is Star okay.
What do you want audiences to really take away from this experience? You've obviously put so much of your life, so much of your attention, and this was obviously a very needed conversation. What do you want people to walk away from this experience feeling?
I am, that was one of the things actually discussed with Sharon. I don't want to tell people how to feel. Music usually is an instruction on how to feel. And we have a section in the film about that. I don't want to tell people how to feel with the music. I want to show something and then you decide how you feel about it. I'm not going to tell you how to feel about it. You figure it out.
I love that. I love that.
And for me, I work with a lot of directors, so each is a different experience. Some of the directors want me to go, oh no, make it so emotional. I want people to cry. Nina, and I think she's right, especially in this film, you can't do that. You can't do that because the material is already so heavy and so disturbing and so needed to talk about that the music cannot make it even, more emotional. The music needs to support and help and tie the whole thing together. But it cannot be, bringing the audience. I mean, it's already so heavy, right? So they need to be able to look at it with open eyes and say, okay, this is how we feel, not because the music made us feel, but because of the subject matter. And music, if the music is something that you notice all the time, then that means I didn't do a good job. It has to, that's true, because it has to be an integral part of the movie. You shouldn't feel how when music comes in, when music comes out, it needs to be an integral part. It's like another person speaking, like there was another person in the room speaking. So this person is not all about this person. It's about everybody talking together.
That's really beautiful. Well, I want to thank both of you for spending time with us today. Honestly, it's a true honor to be talking about this film and the power behind it. And I'm just really grateful that you guys have brought this to Sundance 2022. Again, I don't know how you could hear about this and not feel that call to action. And that makes me excited to see the impact of the film spread. So thank you to everyone watching. I encourage you to spend some more time in our virtual Sundance ASCAP Music Café. We've got some great, wonderful performances from our ASCAP artists, and we'd love for you to explore even more episodes of our ASCAP Screen Time.
Thank you for having us.